All right, I just pulled up the recording, so I am going to record this presentation for anybody who wasn't able to log on. We'll be able to send out a link, or if you want to go back and watch and remember everything great that happened tonight, you'll be able to do so. So I am so proud to present our host tonight. First of all, it is the first webinar of 2024. We are so excited and we're starting off with a bang. So this is my friend, Nicole, and I can say that without hyperbole, to borrow a word that we were using earlier. Nicole and I, through destiny, we sat next to each other on a plane flying to a conference in Vermont this summer. And we connected on everything, family, friendships. And then finally, we got around to our professional backgrounds and we realized we had even more in common. So I am just so excited that you're going to be able to spend an inspirational evening with Nicole, addressing the needs of a population that I think oftentimes can be an afterthought when we talk about financial literacy. You know, the focus is often on, you know, students in high school, young adults who are just starting to embark on their futures. But really, research shows that financial knowledge and skills start at a very young age, as do many of our skills, right? All of those different literacies, they all start very early, and there's so much we can do to engage our students. So I am so pleased to have Nicole here, and we'll just do a short introduction, a little bit about us. We are the Four Corners Jumpstart Alliance. So I'm Ann Swicker Chavez, and I am the president of Jumpstart New Mexico. And I also grabbed a nice cup of tea. It's in a scary mug. It's a skull, but it's definitely keeping me warm on this cold evening. And then I see Nicole has her cup of tea, and we are just so excited to bring this content to educators and advocates alike. And I'll pass it off to Shauna. You're next on my screen.
Hi, everybody. Hey, we talked about before this webinar, let's make it cozy, sitting in our homes and have our cup of our favorite beverage. I forgot, I've got a cup of pens.
Oh.
So it even has a calendar on my cup. So not very cozy, but I'm so grateful to be here. This is a really warm and welcoming webinar. We want everyone to feel comfortable and to be able to collaborate with each other, have it be a really magical time. The financial literacy educators from across the nation can have a moment to visit with each other, learn from each other, and learn from the best, which we are going to do again tonight.
Thank you, Shauna. And next we have Amy from Colorado.
Good evening, everyone. Hopefully my dinner is being made upstairs while I'm on this webinar, and I have my cup, my CU cup full of water. So prime time right here. But my daytime job is running Economic Literacy Colorado, and just in the last 2 weeks, I became the chair of the Colorado Jumpstart, and we're going to rebuild it. And I'm so grateful to all of you to have me in your alliance, and you guys have been a wealth of information in the last couple weeks, and I appreciate you so much. So I'm just going to sit back and learn a little bit, and happy to be here.
We're so happy to have you, Amy. And Nicole, you are our fourth corner for our Four Corners Jumpstart, but I'm going to hold off because I'm about to give you the whole stage. Great, great. So our webinar series for this spring, you'll see we have an all-star lineup. Tonight we have Nicole Hood, and we're going to be talking about the ABCs of creating financial literacy curriculum for kids. Next month, we will have Jedediah Collins, 5 Inches for Your Paycheck. He is a really inspirational speaker and can explain complex financial ideas in very simple, easy to understand and remember terms. So you're really in for a treat there. And then on March 11th, we will have Will Rainey, who uses, well, he's a published author and he uses storytelling to teach financial literacy. He's fabulous. And then finally, we have Amanda Geiger from Econ Ed from the St. Louis Federal Reserve, and she will join us to tell us about all of the wonderful resources that are free open source resources from the Federal Reserve. So we're excited for a jam-packed spring. And then there's a little QR code there that you can scan to register, but also that link you used to register tonight, you can use that again. And we'll definitely share that with you. Okay, so I'm proud to introduce Nicole. Tonight, she was supposed to have her partner in, not in crime, partner in financial well-being, Annie Schoen, join, but she's not able to join tonight. But we have Nicole, who is the CEO of My First Nest Egg. Just a wonderful app to support financial well-being with children ages 3 to 13 and really support parents in doing that good work. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Nicole. I'm going to figure out my screen real quick and stop sharing. And we're so excited to have you tonight.
Thank you, Anne, and thank you to all of our my Jumpstart partners. We're having such a great time building financial education in the Four Corners, and it's just such an honor to be part of the group. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and then I'll just make sure that everybody can see this. How do we look? Okay, excellent. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Nicole Hood, as Anne mentioned. I'm the co-founder and CEO of My First Nest Egg. What I really hope that we can do tonight when we walk through this short presentation is I'd really love to take questions, really love to make this conversational. And if anybody would like to jump in, no formalities at all. Please stop me, please raise your hand or just jump in. And I think that that's what it's all about when we're all here very much on the same mission. Somebody said today, when you get to choose the thing you do, you tend to find the same friends. And they're the people who are also doing the kinds of things that they want to do. And I think everyone on here, we're really committed to changing the next generation and helping them really build their financial well-being, and that's all through education. So thank you for having me today, and I can't wait to jump in. So ABCs of creating financial literacy curriculums for kids. My First Nest Egg, just a little bit about us. We're a digital financial education platform, and we gamify healthy habits for kids. And if I was to tell you the way that I came here, I did not come through just as an educator. For about 18 years before starting My First Nest Egg, I was a corporate attorney here in Arizona. Had a wonderful, wonderful career. And during the days, I'd be working with a 36-year-old developer, and we'd be working on incredibly complex mezzanine financing, trying to limit tax exposure and liability. And at night, I'd be going to do some pro bono hours at a clinic, and I'd be working with a 36-year-old gentleman who was under crushing $600 debt. And mainly I saw compound interest, high interest rate debt, a $200 purchase or a $300 purchase that was now $600. The lawnmower was already broken, and yet they still owed this incredible amount of money. I found it really difficult after a while to kind of live in these two separate worlds, where I had someone who was incredibly fluent in the language of money, and then asking someone, did you not know what interest is? And for me, it was impossible to kind of continue living that way. COVID hits, and my business partner and I started really chatting a lot about where our careers were going, what we were doing. And our kids came to mind as they're all home with us. We have 7 kids between us, all 7 and under. I'm sorry, they were all 10 and under at the time. And now Anne and I were joking, I have a teenager now, which is a different experience. And we started to say, who are we raising? Are we raising the person that is going to be able to talk about mezzanine financing and really be able to improve their future? Or are we raising someone who's going to struggle, get that first credit card when they go off to school and immediately be stuck in a cycle of debt? That's when we started looking for tools, like how, as moms, could we teach our young kids about money? We really looked and we looked and we looked, and we really couldn't find anything that was age appropriate and fun for kids 10 and under. And that's where my first nest egg was born, in the throes of COVID. I think if it hadn't been for that, I'm not sure I would have made a career change. And it was really important to see that we could do this. So Annie and I started the company with a goal of helping the next generation build great financial habits. So that's the genesis of my first nest egg. And in the last few years, working with behavioral psychologists, educators, and parents when we were building this, we're really excited to share with you what we've learned. And first and foremost, it's really hard to build financial education curriculums for kids for so many reasons. Money concepts, they're complex. Kids, especially the young ones, have incredibly short attention spans. And I would say that even older kids have short attention spans when they don't understand the foundations, right? Because it feels embarrassing. They just tune it out. The words don't resonate. I always like to think about financial education like the TV show everyone's talking about, but you haven't seen it yet. And so the conversations don't make a lot of sense. You don't really participate. You don't really understand it. And then the second you watch that first episode, every one of those conversations start to make sense. I feel like it's exactly the same with financial education, that until you have the basics, until you start, none of that other stuff really resonates. It just doesn't stick. And so what we're trying to do by giving little kids the foundation, introducing the vocabulary early, is to help them attune their ears so that they're able to build a lifetime of understanding. Another really hard reason to build a financial literacy curriculum is there's no really standardized curriculum for young children. There are materials, there's resources, there's recommendations, but it's not all in one place, and it's not prepackaged for most people to be able to just pick something up and go with it. Other reason, it takes a lot of time to build a financial literacy curriculum that is really thought out. And then at the end of the day, for me, I think the biggest question is when you're teaching financial literacy is, was it effective? Was it effective? For us, this is the most critical part. And after now years of building curriculums and just tons of trial and error, we started to see results. And when we talk about results with kids, it's really small wins. And I'm going to tell you a story a little later about one of these small wins. But when we're starting to measure it now, 30 days, 2 minutes a day, we're going to talk about that too, why that small amount, those small bursts are really important, increasing financial literacy scores and really changing mindsets. And the way that we do this is with a really special, I would say it's the structure that we use. Just talking about this a little bit, we ran some test cases in low income aftercare programs after doing about 30 days of some My First Nest Egg programming built on the structure that I'm going to tell you a little bit more about. And the teacher told us, 100% of the kids are free breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Most of them are coming from backgrounds where money is either a taboo subject or something not discussed, or just there's a fear that we just don't have it. Teacher told us she had never taught financial literacy in the classroom and didn't feel really great about her own skills. In 30 days, which was a total of 1 hour of a lesson, we were seeing an increase in the financial literacy scores, and the kids wanted to do more. And this is the structure that we're really talking about. The ABCs of impact. First, it's got to be age appropriate. B, be fun. And C, consequential. So this is the structure where I think we all need to go back to as we're building curriculums for kids. And this is where we see impact. And yes, I had to force the B with Be Fun, but you know, sometimes it just makes it a little easier. So the mnemonic: age appropriate, be fun, and consequential. All right, let's I really do believe that if you remove any one of these pillars from the curriculum, it really makes it difficult to have the impact that we're probably searching for in being able to answer a question, was it effective? All right, so let's just look at a basic example. Let's teach kids about a budget. First, we got to ask, can budgeting be age appropriate? Well, of course. There is something that every kid wants to buy or has seen purchased with regularity. So it could be toys, food, birthday party supplies. But if it's not age appropriate, you're going to lose your audience right off the bat. So, first pillar, budgeting. If you're going to create a little budget curriculum, really tie it to something that the kids know. It should not be about buying a car if they're under 14. It should not be about maybe stocks and trades if they're, you know, in the 7-year-old range. Really make it about things that they understand and know already. Be fun, be kid-like. Okay, this is my favorite part. And if it's an in-person exercise, I mean, one of the easiest ways to do this is to make it interactive. We really love when kids get to go up, they touch stuff, they collect things. So for the sake of example, and one of the things we do is we set up a fake supermarket where kids get to go shopping on a budget. And we lay out fake foods or representations on a table, and we let the kids bring back price tags for each purchase they want to make. Again, if you take away this element of fun, you start to see those eyes glassing over and you've lost your audience again. And I think as educators, we all know that that eyeglass, I mean, that is the worst feeling. And I mean, has anybody seen that in the last couple of days? And it is a little demoralizing for the teacher, but you also know that you're losing that effectiveness. Yeah. So our goal is to, when we're talking about money, making it fun right from the beginning. And then that last pillar, consequential. The other two pillars, age appropriate and be fun, are really for engagement. But when we look at making something consequential, we're really saying, are we building a lesson that will have impact on future choice? So in this example of a budget where we're letting kids maybe go supermarket shopping on a budget, I would put a whole bunch of red herrings at the table. Junk food, fast food, candy, toys, things that ensure that if a kid is going up and making kid-like choices, they're probably going to blow their budget right off the bat. And what we love is we love letting them make anticipated mistakes and then giving them an opportunity to fix those mistakes. That is, in my opinion, what makes something consequential. To give them those chances to make a mistake and then figure it out through their own means, how to fix it and make it better. So here are your ABCs. We're going to dive in a little further on all of these. Any questions so far? All right. Okay. Age appropriate. So no one expects when you are in a classroom, unless you are solely focused on one age in particular, that you're going to have a completely different curriculum for each classroom or grade. Many times the appropriateness of the curriculum can vary, you know, between even second grade classrooms, depending on socioeconomics and so many other factors, language. But a way that you can expand the broadness of a curriculum is first to make sure that it's a fairly adaptive curriculum, but also to gauge and adjust. This should be your very first move whenever you are talking about money in every situation with children. For me, one of the best way to gauge and adjust in a classroom is by asking a question. What is the budget? What is interest? And those simple questions, raise your hand if you know what a budget is, raise your hand if you know what interest is. I think that those things, the number of hands that get raised, the quality of the answers that we're getting really help us understand where we need to adjust and start. So just in case, when I typically are walking into a situation, I do have some books that if we're starting way further back than I expected, okay, here's a fun little book that we can share that maybe brings us to the point where then the curriculum can start. Or if the kids are in a place where they're much further along than I expected, we can kind of rush through certain things so that they don't get bored, they don't get glassy-eyed, and we can kind of move on to something that maybe they don't know. So I would say that in figuring out the age appropriateness, that is a really big point. Interactive, we already really talked about interactive. There are a few in-person activities that we love to do. One of them is supermarket shopping on a budget for a family of 4, $25, and they have to buy breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It is a really neat way to let them go up and experience it, to make those mistakes, to touch something, to have a fun little sheet to fill out, to go ahead and add it up, to lay out their little tiles or whatever it is that they're shopping for. And that giving them an activity to stand up and work through is really great. One of my other really favorite interactive financial literacy curriculums is surrounding about teaching kids about entrepreneurialism and letting them build their own business. So it really is, how do you get kids to participate in a meaningful way where they're not just filling out a worksheet that everyone else is filling out? How can they think through it themselves? How can they be creative in the process? Next thing, when we're talking about kids, especially these young kids, is bite-sized. It is really hard to sit them in front of a screen and do a 30-minute module if they're a little younger. And at a certain point, we just ask ourselves, are we losing them? So in my opinion, the more frequent, the shorter the lesson, the more effective it is with young kids in building those foundations. It's really hard to learn 7 new financial literacy terms or vocabulary words, but if you maybe introduce one a week, and then you're able to use several examples over just maybe a few minutes a day over the course of a week, those words are not just words, they become concepts and ideas that the kids have empowerment over because now they've had all of these different ways to connect with that word. So for interest, for example, with these bite-sized lessons, let's say the concept for a week is needs versus wants. And really, I think you could do this for a month because it is the foundation of financial literacy. Give them tons of examples. What's a need versus a want? Give them ways to talk about it in terms of goods, in terms of services, in terms of their lives, really helping them understand, okay, you really want this expensive pair of Nikes. Is that a need or a want? Sure, you need shoes on your feet, but really let's get into the nuance. And I think that if it's bite-sized little conversations, you can start diving into the nuance, which makes it really fun for kids. One of the other things for making something age appropriate, especially when it comes for learning about money, is it should be really pretty, colorful, and eye-catching. Kids do not want to see a PowerPoint presentation like I am forcing you to look at right now, if it's not fun and colorful and eye-catching. And so I know that's a little addition, but we see an incredible change in interactivity and engagement when we've made our materials really pretty and bright and colorful. Okay.
Inflation is the decrease in the purchase power of money. Prices of goods and services shall increase. One good indicator of inflation is when the prices of gas become expensive. That one's for free. Gross. Not that kind of gas.
Okay, this is an extreme example of being silly or being fun. And of course, it doesn't work in every classroom. However, the flatulence jokes date back all the way to 1900 BC, and it was good enough for Shakespeare, so maybe it can be good enough for us, especially if we're trying to teach some of the complex words. One of the things that we do in teaching kids about money is we take user submissions of videos and have kids create a database of videos. Kids love watching other kids talk about it. Are any of you familiar with the show, The Who Was Show? It's a Netflix show. The Who Was show is a show about historical figures. I would say 70 to 80% of the show are silly jokes, potty humor, and then it's mixed in with history. My kids know way more about historical figures than I ever did because of this silly show, because they remember the episodes, because the songs are funny, or they really thought that one of the little skits were funny. And humor really is something that keeps kids engaged in all kinds of education. And so when we're talking about something that a lot of kids are either afraid of, they just think it's going to be fun, they think it's going to be hard, they don't think it's going to be fun. We actually like to push the envelope in making it extra silly, extra fun, to keep them engaged and to keep them wondering what's coming back. And we really do love letting other kids be a part of the teaching. So that's one of the other things. So videos, jokes, again, interactive sessions bring the fun. C, consequential. All right, this is by far the hardest of all of the pillars in that ABC standard. Make it consequential. So basic concepts. So much of the failing of financial literacy is a failure to grasp basic concepts. So I would say when you're teaching about money, do not be afraid to introduce, reintroduce, and reintroduce again basic concepts, because until some of those foundational concepts are understood, needs versus wants, until there is mastery there, how can you talk about a budget? Until someone understands a budget, how can you really talk about save, spend, give, invest? I think all of these things really build on each other. And so we really like to go back, and sometimes it's beating the horse a little bit, but I think that there are really fun ways that you could do it. Storytelling, a really great way of doing it. Books, tell needs versus want stories. Uh, Jumpstart Coalition and the Council for Economic Education have national standards that you can refer to figure out what concepts should be mastered by kids at different ages. And I think that that is a really helpful place to start. If you ever say, gosh, I have a group of third graders, I really wonder what standards I should be introducing to them, what basic concepts they should be learning, and then where to go from there. Well, there are some excellent resources out there that can give you an idea of where to start. Another great, it's a great resource to build your materials around. State resources as well are a great resource for you to look at, and they're built into the state standards, school standards, and those are a great resource as well. Finally, we always look to tie in any lesson to real world consequences. So for instance, if we're doing the shopping on the budget, well, what happens if you guys buy the ice cream and you don't buy the food for lunch and dinner? What happens if you decide to get the toy and not your breakfast materials? We like to talk about that. Like, how does it feel? Like, what are you missing out on? And it really can, we let the kids lead those conversations about consequences they can understand, and making them feel profound, and that our decisions really do tie to the consequence. And so it is a really neat, thing. Here's the impact right here. Every kid talks about sneakers right now. We walk into classrooms and kids are talking about shoes. When we talk about needs versus wants, when we are talking about budgeting, I have yet to be in a classroom where the conversation of shoes don't come up. And why is it really important that we understand the consequences here? This actually breaks my heart. I saw this post on LinkedIn last week, actually. This is $19 per week, Nike shoes, 53 payments to own it, which if you're doing the math, that's about $1,050 for a pair of little kid shoes. So spread that out over 53 weeks. I don't know a single kid who doesn't put a hole in their shoes before a year is up. This is what we are trying to get kids to avoid, is the feeling of, I can't afford the $300 for this pair of shoes. And we want to help them understand that this is not the right pathway. And so we're trying to arm them against this predatory nature that's out there. My favorite story is in the classrooms where we were running the case studies in the really low income aftercare programs. 100% of the kids were free breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Their parents work till 7 or 8 p.m. and so they take a bus over to the facility. And they were working on our program for 30 days. And then we went in and we did the needs versus wants, little in-person interactive curriculum. And it was the shopping on a budget. And one of the boys was leaving the table and he says to his friend, "Don't get the ice cream. It's a want, not a need." And Annie and I were standing there and we gave him a thumbs up. And another little boy says, you know, kind of seeing this congratulations over this understanding. He says, "There was a boy in my class bragging about $150 Nikes. And I told him, your shoes are a want and my shoes are good too." And while this sounds like a very small win, for us, that was impact. There was an understanding of that needs versus wants. There was an understanding that you don't need a $150 pair of shoes. That wasn't the need. And to start changing the mindset. And we really hope that that mindset change might stop anybody from making this mistake, because this is when I think about how this could compound over time, and making this small mistake, make it a few times, even early on, and you are become that person that is walking into a legal aid clinic trying to figure out how to get out of $600 debt with stress all over their face and tears. And we're really going for small wins when it comes to kids. I like to say, so in continuing on, we hit ABC, D, digital, kind of continuing it on, love and truly believe that learning has to continue outside of the classroom. No matter how good, impactful we are in the classroom, being able to give kids additional materials that they can engage with at home or later is really important. I'm sure we've all seen an incredible push in all digital platforming to include gamification. Again, I can't stress enough how important I think that this is for motivation. Kids, it does not need to be a tangible win. It can be confetti. It can be a yay, you did it. It could be a thumbs up in a digital program. Those small things alone motivate kids. It is the whole gaming system, the whole everything related to video gaming. They're not truly winning anything. And so we don't have to give them actual prizes in learning. We can give them those small little dopamine hits through the confetti, through the puzzle piece creation, through all of these things that make them feel like they're accelerating, that they're going to the next level. So gamification, I think, is key when it comes to continuing that learning in a digital setting. I will say that I believe that your digital solution, no matter what you do, has to follow the same basics ABC. It has to be age appropriate, fun, and it has to be consequential. Something interesting is when we started building our product, we had age appropriate and be fun down right from the get-go, because we had 7 kids to test it with. You know, we got that part. We felt like we really mastered it. That consequential piece for us was really hard, because at times when it was really consequential, we started to lose the age appropriateness and the fun. And so we'd have to go back and we would go all the way to the other side. And I remember for a while, we had a 2-minute per day financial lesson. And that's what we've called it right from the beginning. But the lesson used to be the eagle on the back of the quarter is named George, and he was in the mint. And while that story is super fun and kids loved the kind of the trivia, it wasn't consequential. It wasn't going to make them make a different decision when it came to these shoes. So what we said is, how do we bring that consequential nature to financial literacy? And the way that we're doing it now also pulls in gamification for motivation. And that is one single multiple choice question per day. And we keep it fun because a couple, at least two of the options are ridiculous that make kids laugh. And it's consequential because we are constantly building on a curriculum that's based on the Jumpstart and Council for Economics education standards. And it's bite size, 2 minutes per day. So I will say that whatever, even if it is a digital solution, you really do want to follow those ABCs that we've already discussed. Another thing, I went to E. I really think engaging parents is important because when we talk about money, the truth is that so much of so much of teaching kids about money, and we can give them the basics, but to really make good money choices, there has to be an application of values. And how we spend money is really personal. And understanding a family's values and where they prioritize things becomes important. So when we talk to our kids about money, no is of course something that comes up when children ask, can I buy this? I'd really, and our no always comes with a because. No, you can't buy that toy. We're really right now investing in your musical lessons because you said that that's really enjoyable. It's something that's going to last your whole life as opposed to that toy that will probably break. But we really are clear in when we talk about what we are and are not going to spend money on, we talk about the value behind it. No, we're not going to buy the candy at the checkout counter because we save up so at the end of the week we can go out to dinner on Friday night and get burgers as a family because that family time is important to us. It's really important to give that word because when you're talking about money with kids, there's this incredible Harvard study from the 70s and the power of the word because. Has anybody heard this study? Okay. They sent psychology students out into and this will age all of us. We all know what a copy machine is and we all waited online for copy machines. Okay, so this study took students and there would be a long line on Sunday nights for the copy machine for everybody to turn in whatever they had on Monday, and there would be a plant and they would send a student out and he would say, hey, can I please cut in front of you? And of course, 60% of the kids would be like, no, you can't cut in front of me. They then would send out a kid into the same line they would do it again. And the kid would say, may I please cut in front of you because I need to make a copy. Because changed everything. It absolutely flip-flopped those numbers. Now people were 60% likely to allow them to cut in front of them, even when the because was ridiculous. Of course, the because is you needed to make a copy. So there's a power in the word because in helping someone to understand. Now, we like to do a better because, and we don't really like to say because I said so, but it goes back to the importance of parents being a part of the education of money. And so at the same time that we're doing this great work in the classroom, we also want to try to figure out how to arm parents to be able to talk to their kids. And one of the things that I believe makes it's helpful to integrate it in the home as well is when whatever tool you're giving them is helpful and useful to the household as a whole. So giving them another curriculum that is going to sit on the counter and probably get thrown away 3 days later is not what I'm talking about with useful. Maybe it's a calendar that has a financial vocabulary word of the day. Maybe it's tied to a chore and allowance program. Whatever it is, it should be something that parents are looking for anyway, that they can integrate into their lives. Because let's face it, a lot of us are parents, we're absolutely exhausted, and it just feels overwhelming to implement one more learning tool if it doesn't help us in other ways. When we really worked on my first nest egg, and we really started off as a home chore allowance and financial education app, and that was great. We really enjoyed that program. We started getting a lot of questions from teachers like, hey, can I bring this into the classroom? And so in the last couple of months, we've worked really hard with a whole bunch of educators from across the country to be able to do that. And I would love to share how we're helping teachers right now bring financial education into their classrooms. And why I feel really comfortable sharing this with you is we've made it 100% free to teachers. And when we first started as a app in the App and Google Play Store, we were charging $3.99 a month per family. And it was great. We were getting all this fantastic feedback. But Annie and I looked at each other and we said, are we having impact where we wanted to have impact? Are we really affecting the people who we set out to help when we started this company? And when we really said, no, we're not, we figured out a way through private public sponsorships to get these tools to our end users for free. So any family that wants to can download My First Nest Egg and use it at home for free. And every teacher now can use the teacher platform for free in their classroom. So here's a little example of what a teacher would have. So they could come in, they would have their daily lesson, 2 minutes per day, bring it up on the whiteboard, and the kids can, use it during bell work, right before recess, right after recess, before or after lunch. If a teacher does not have a whiteboard, or there is not an effective means of using technology in the classroom, they can also come right through the app to a worksheet for the day. And so we really thought that this was a nice way to kind of continue the activity and focusing on these ABCs. Age appropriate. We have curriculum that's really set for elementary and middle school. We kept it bite-sized, we kept it tiny, it's silly, and we also wanted it to be consequential. So again, going back to those standards from Jumpstart and a Council for Economic Education. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna go back here. One of the other things that we really know with kids, again, is that interactive piece and really being able to feel and experience money. So we have a little classroom economy. Let's say this is teacher Karen, and she can go into the class's spending and she can say, hey, let me get this out of the way. If everybody turns in their homework today, our class is going to earn $5. So everyone turns in homework. They can add that money to their account. Again, you'll see that gamification. I don't know why confetti is so important to kids, but it's the thing that we probably get the most feedback on. A teacher can then also set up a little price list. So for instance, they can create it however they want. 5 minutes of extra recess cost them $5, or a special book introduced into the classroom, things that they might have been doing already, but making kids actually feel and experience earning it and then cashing it in. So let's say that there's going to be a book read aloud. Okay, that read aloud book is going to be $3, and they get to see that. Well, if they were saving for a class party at the end of the week, now they no longer have $25. It really is just this opportunity for kids to participate and actually watch money going up and down. We also do a lot of stuff through puzzles. And even the daily question of the day, every time the class goes ahead and completes one of the questions, we go ahead and we fill in the puzzle. And it's just this feeling of like running things in tranches, 30 days or 10 days or whatever it is. And there's just accomplishment in being able to set a goal and then see it come together piece by piece by piece. So that is definitely one of the ways that we work with teachers today in giving them resources and tools that they can use, because we know it's difficult, because we've already created this platform. It's our mission to now share it with everybody. Any questions? And then I can give you some examples and topics and other things that might be helpful in your classrooms if you're looking to do something a little bit more interactive.
Nicole, I don't have a question, but I am just blown away by my first nest egg making this all available to educators. I just have the feeling that the wheels are turning. How can I use this in my classroom right now? And I wanted to speak quickly about the shoe lesson. So I'm working on writing a lesson plan or adapting a lesson plan. We like to think of ways to incorporate literacy into financial literacy. And so we're going to use the text, those shoes or these shoes. And it's a picture book, and it's about a story of a little boy, and he has pressure to buy the cool shoes that every other kid has. Instead, he has to go to the thrift store and get shoes that don't fit. And then the school counselor gets him shoes, but they're not stylish, but it's a way of introducing needs versus wants. So I just love that example because I think it really speaks to what's going on in kids' lives. And I also wanted to mention, supporting parents, financial literacy incorporates reading and math concepts. If you're going to include a child to help you write the grocery list, they're working on recognizing words and letters and numbers, and it's meaningful. So I just love all of the subjects you're touching on, and I'm so inspired.
Oh, well, thank you, Anne. I always get just really, we get better every time we talk to teachers who tell us, oh, we really loved this and we really loved this and we do this a little different and this is what we're doing. And I think that is the network we're trying to build here is how do we get better? How do we really inspire each other to be better about teaching money? And these are some of the tools that we've created, and love to hear from you, your feedback and how we could improve. And that is our favorite thing. And being a smaller company today, we're just really adaptable. The teacher program didn't exist. It was a home program until teachers asked us, hey, how can we use this in the classroom? And so this is the way that if you scan in this code and then use the code NestEggEDU, you would have free access to all of the programming for your classrooms and for anybody else who'd like to use it. No questions at all? I feel bad. I talked way longer than I expected to.
I think we're all working on signing up for the account. It's really wonderful. Any questions before we move on? And Nicole, do you have more content that you would like to cover? Are we ready to?
No, I am done. Unless there was any specific questions about some of the in-person curriculums that anybody wanted to maybe try to build, and we can also support there. So no, I'm really excited to hear from all of you.
I did have a question that I was pondering. When you have gone to do in-person lessons, so I've worked in similar communities that you're describing, where you have some students where maybe finances you can really, kids aren't feeling as much pressure, and then some homes where there is a lot of financial stress. So has anything ever come up when you're doing lessons with kids you know, maybe a kid is going through a hard time or something. And then how do you handle that?
I think we try to be really conscious about the environment that we're in. And of course, a teacher who is more familiar with the classroom is going to be good about it. But sometimes we'll take one of our programs into low income housing. And shopping on a budget can sound really cringe to someone who is living on the teeniest, tiniest budget. And so, one of the ways that we have made that work, especially when it comes to parents, is we involve them. So, like when we're doing the shop for a family of 4 on a budget, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, we say, "Hey, moms, we know you know how to do this. You guys go ahead. You guys go ahead and do it." And the moms will come back and they have shopped for a family of 4, breakfast, lunch, and dinner for $18. And then we say, "Hey, mom, tell us how you did it." And they're like, "Well, we got the loaf of bread for this much. And then we got the eggs. And then we used the chicken for lunch and dinner." And I think we're really cognizant of the most important thing for us is we never want to be the reason someone doesn't want to continue their education. And so we try very hard to make sure that it is in a welcoming environment, that it's non-judgmental, and that we take down the walls that have kind of stopped people from coming to the learning to start with. And that's why we've started with little kids. And we're really conscious about how we talk to parents about it too. There's no judgment in what you, there's no judgment here. Here are some tools to help because we all need them. Does that answer your question, Anne?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. You know, I think it's really important as we talk about money that we have exactly that attitude. Okay, guys, so I'm looking at the time and I'm gonna start. Is it okay if I share my screen, Nicole? Did everybody take a picture or scan that QR code? Because that is amazing. And speaking of copy machines, I think our copy machines are going to be going double time so we can print out those beautiful worksheets. Okay, so I want to remind all of you, we have 3 more webinars for the spring. Sign up, attend, and if you're unable to attend, we will send you a recording so that you're able to view it. Here we have a survey. If you have a couple minutes and would like to scan that survey so we can make sure we're bringing you great programming. We have our My First Nest Egg resources, webinar registration. And if you want to learn more about the Jumpstart, I hope I'm sharing my screen. Am I sharing my screen, guys?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay, good. Sometimes it's late in the evening. Sometimes I don't know. So if you'd like to learn more about Jumpstart and see all of the wonderful resources on jumpstart.org, go ahead and check us out. But we're so happy that you spent your evening with us and we look forward to seeing you guys next week. And thank you so much, Nicole.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you, Nicole.
Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate your time. And sorry, I wound up talking way more than I expected.
We love it. We love your passion.
Nicole,
Yes.
thank you.
Oh, thank you.